Our chit is brilliant, our chat is pure. We sound like angels, of that I'm sure. We try to be interesting all day. This is just to please our fans. But I won't lose no sleep on the fact that we've got no plan. We're audible, we're bearable. We're audible, it's true. We see your face, look at this disgrace, and we don't know what to do. 'Cause I don't think we'll improve. Welcome to episode 14 of The End of Everything. Today we have the lovely Jack Taylor with us.
Hey.
And we're going to do a little breakdown into the film industry for those that are interested. Jack's been with us, well, we've been sort of mates for...
I don't know, a long time?
Far too long.
10 years?
Yeah,
10 years?
10 years.
Jesus. Okay.
I know, right? That just made me feel old.
I know. But yeah, so we went through Massey together, all sort of fell in love with our...
I think I say selves for a second.
Each other.
With
love at first sight.
A unified passion for science fiction.
Yeah, that's nailed it.
Yeah.
And then for our major project we did, in university, we made a short film.
Yeah, that snowballed pretty fast, eh?
Oh yeah.
We started off going, we'll do some artwork and maybe we'll shoot like a 30-second clip or something and get someone to help us do that. And then it quickly turned into like, oh yeah, we're all graduating from film school right now. Do you want to do a shoot? And it's like, oh cool, we'll write this script. And then suddenly there were 30 people involved and paid actors and like an insanely expensive camera.
I got like world class. What was the guy who did
the focus puller?
Focus puller, yeah.
He was like did focus
King
puller for King Kong, and one of the actors was the like
King and the Hobbit
from the Hobbit.
Yeah.
And we're just like, what is happening?
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. From that point, we went into work at Weta Workshop and have been pretty much working in the film industry ever since. So we're going to do a breakdown of our experience with that, where we think film's going, and yeah, I suppose where it might head in the future.
Yeah.
Coming from the experts.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I guess coming off that film, that major project that did kind of snowball, we all got a job at Weta Workshop.
Yeah, that was
pretty quick after that.
Within a couple of weeks after we graduated, I think it was.
Yeah.
Just like we kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
It was.
Well, we got like remember Greg Broadmoor came and like walked around our set and stuff and was then like put in the good word for us.
Yeah.
Did he?
And Phil as well.
Yeah,
was
Phil.
Like they're like, oh, we're doing Thunderbirds. Like, remember he wanted a train station from the green room or something.
A train station?
Yeah, they had a train station set, and there was this old spatial design miniature. He's like, that would be perfect. Can I have that? And we're like, it's not really ours to give away, but we can make one for you.
Yeah, that's right.
If you pay us.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember actually as well, like for Thunderbirds, they chopped up the old parts of the spaceship from that film.
So
around the
that was kind of an interesting version of like cheap film. Like, how can we make miniatures for like this kids television show that look pretty cool,
and
as fast as possible, and like with as few people as possible, because we just don't have much money.
And
especially they kind of identify as like, we have this big Tracy Island set that's going to be shot and be on camera like every episode, all the time. Spend heaps of time on that and nail that for all like the repeating shots, and then all the episode by episode it's like, okay, we have a tiny budget, so make this out of a bucket. Got some water pistols that look like buildings, like put some shit on there.
Yeah, well, I was going to see a frame that day, so that's for the Thunderbirds kids TV series, which is obviously a classic going back, decades, but they have remade it in the past 5 years, I guess. And
it was pretty cool to work on. I used to watch that when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've tried to maintain some of the sort of the physical model making and stuff that was in the original.
Which is very unique. Like, not many films or TV shows use miniatures now.
And it's quite an efficient way to do it. They're not trying to be ridiculous about it, and everything has to be a miniature, and then all this stuff has to move because then you've got to make the character interact with all this thing. It's just so hard and expensive and impossible to work. Whereas doing all like the landscapes and some of the internal scenes and stuff.
All the sets were miniatures, basically.
And then they have the occasional one where it'll be CG because it's just not practical to film, or like inside the Thunderbirds or that sort of thing, where it would be a ridiculous miniature, like huge size, to the point where it would just be a set with nobody in it.
Yeah.
It's just, okay, don't do that.
Yep.
So it's like a really good example of not wasting a lot of money.
That definitely leads into it, isn't it? It's like a lot of films nowadays are just like overdo everything or throw as much money and effort, into the CG, but it's like it's so much smarter to be selective about what you choose to represent with CG and what you choose to, imply, and you don't actually need to show it. Again, we're watching Lord of the Rings episode, like the first one last night again, and you do, like, when you're aware of that, it's so obvious that they've
thought about it.
They've thought about what they're putting in.
Yeah, like budgets are going up, and it's because the amount of CG that's being done is just going through the roof because people expect more and more. But it's kind of this weird thing where they also want to keep budgets down, and a good way to keep budget down is to be shooting and making between a certain time, right? So it's like, okay, well, we're shooting on this date, everything needs to be done before then, so everyone just has to hurry up, so you can't spend as much money before that.
Right.
But then you end up not doing the prep properly, so you spend way more in VFX afterwards because you run out of time or the shot's not planned out the way you want it, so then it's just, you end up spending more money. So this is really, I feel like that happens a lot.
I think it was like the fact Fable, I don't know if it actually happened or not, but in The Hobbit, where they got on set and had everything ready to film, and then they decided they needed way more characters. There weren't enough characters. They just got guys to just swing their swords around, pretending they were fighting people, and then they would just CG all the orcs afterwards.
In The Hobbit, they're we just need more people, so they just got guys hacking and slashing, and we'll CG it in later.
Yeah, and it's just imagine if you were a VFX artist, just oh god, this is going to be so hard.
That's it though, isn't it? As far as the director is concerned, CGI is the one-stop fix. It's just you can literally achieve anything in CGI.
Yeah, the phrase we'll fix it in post is
and it's
classic.
It is, and it's become this classic phrase we'll just fix it in post because anything can be achieved. But I think, the argument that a lot of us guys have is that it's to the detriment of film and quality.
I think having a budget that seems endless is probably in some ways a negative a lot of the time, because it doesn't force you to really plan out and be pick your moments and be this is when I want to spend the money, because this is really important. It's just kind of it'll be fine, we'll just sort it out, and it'll just drag out and that's fine, and we just have the money to deal with it. So having having a fixed budget and knowing we only have this much money to achieve this just means you have to plan it well, and often when you have to plan it well, you have to, I guess, have that creative vision to make sure that you're doing that right, and you feel like you have to put that time in up front.
It's like any design challenge. Often you get the best results when you have to work to constraints. If someone's design, the best car in the world, whatever, then it's often just going to go off on a strain. No one knows what they're doing. And it's the same in film, where it's just we're going to make something awesome. I mean, obviously it's more restrictive.
It was the new American fighter jet that they've been developing for 30 years, and the budget is just goes and goes and just keeps changing. They're now it needs to do this as well. We'll spend some more time. And it's just this infinite budget, and it's it's going to be this amazing plane. But it takes so long to develop, and it just keeps going through, and it has all these issues, and they end up being oh no, we don't have the money to spend on this stuff now. It's just the project just spirals out of control.
I think
it's definitely not isolated to film.
No, it's human nature, isn't it? I mean, every uni student knows that if you don't have a deadline, you're never gonna finish it, or you're never gonna.
Well, you have 6 weeks to do the project, and then you have 1 week to actually do the project.
So
it doesn't matter how long that first block is. That's the time spent doing nothing.
No, absolutely.
Or at least doing something that's incredibly inefficient, because you don't have that thing that's now we have to do it. And with with CG, that means that the end of the process is when you have to do it, not so much at the start. Not that people don't, but I think that it gives them way more of an out than it used to. You kind of see it, I think you see it in the difference between Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, is there's a lot more changes and adjustments, and there's so much more digital effects, because they can do anything with CG. Whereas like if you're doing stuff practically, there are restrictions, but it also means that it often feels more real.
Yeah,
Well, I
grounded.
think you actually. I mean, the scene I always think of is The Dark Knight, that second Batman film. When that, you remember that? I think he hooks it with his bike, and the whole big truck flips over.
Yeah.
And, like it's awesome. You know,
Yeah.
it's to the point where you have bits flying off everywhere and like sparks flying and everything, and it's the
That was
sort
a
of
miniature,
thing.
right?
It was a miniature.
Yeah.
So for that scene, they used a miniature instead of CGI, and it feels that much more real because it's not all coming from someone's head of like, this is how an explosion looks, this is how something would happen.
Totally.
It's actually allowing an opportunity for random occurrence.
Yeah, and it's hard to fake like natural events, but
sure.
also you probably if you're, especially I think older generations and probably close to our generation, but not so much maybe further forward, is you get used to seeing things being practical effects, and as it slowly becomes more digital, it looks weird because you're used to seeing, even if a miniature doesn't look like real life, that looks like real life in a movie to you.
Yeah.
So when it changes to VFX, suddenly it's no longer right, even though it wasn't right before.
Camera movements and stuff, another thing is obviously in digital you can do whatever you want.
You can do
with
very
camera.
unnatural camera, like Michael Bay does that sort of stuff where the camera's just all over the place. It's just like spinning round. You're like, I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you're filming physically, it's so much more restricted. And I guess you feel like someone who's watching a little bit more than someone who's like in a drone flying around.
Yeah. That's actually what, again, watching Lord of the Rings, you do just, films aren't like that anymore. Like there is no tangibility and like physicality to a lot of films now, like especially a fantasy epic.
Yeah.
It's like, but it feels like it's in a world which is a real world. I mean, New Zealand or whatever, and it's so good for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess maybe it was in that happy period of time where digital effects were becoming better and better, but they weren't at the point where they can just do everything. Yeah. It was in that happy zone, but now it's definitely getting to the just do everything.
Yeah.
But I wonder as well, like it's probably quite naive to say that digital effects eventually won't get to the place where it's pretty much. Yeah.
I mean, there's so much stuff that is digital effects that you don't realize.
Exactly.
It's more just there are often you'll see the scenes that are, and it tends to date a lot worse as well.
Absolutely.
There are like some things that don't though. If you watch like Terminator 2 or something, they're like, okay, we can do very limited VFX work in terms of what's actually going to look good.
Yeah.
So let's just design it.
Yeah.
So that the VFX will look good, rather than just having this really disconnected design, and then no one's really communicating between like departments, or they're not communicating in the way that they would have had to if they had less money or less resources. And so instead of just having this blue sky thing, it's like, hey, you're doing the design, but it has to be done with VFX afterwards. Here's what we can do.
Yep.
So design around that, and it's like really forcing those constraints, and it's like this amazing movie.
Yeah.
Like so good.
That's it reminds me of what that quote from Elon Musk that we've been kind of fascinated by over the last few days is the best design is undesign.
Yeah.
Meaning the more you simplify something, the more you reduce it down to its simplest and best parts to actually better the design. When you do have a limitless budget and no deadline and stuff, you don't have to simplify anything.
You don't have to be efficient with how you make, like even just making props. So that's something that I try to think of a lot, is like, how can we make this simpler to make and still look the same and do the same things, but just be less complex, because every time you add that layer of complexity, it's like another thing that can go wrong, and it makes it harder and more expensive and more time consuming.
100%.
Yeah, it's like a pretty good ethos, and I think a lot of, just even design companies, that's kind of how they operate, right? It's all about what is the base idea and requirement, and building up from that, rather than here's this crazy concept and then figure out the stuff underneath it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's natural to add complexity. The more you work on something, the more complex you're going to want to make it.
Yeah.
And
it's only constraints that reduces that down, isn't it?
Yeah. Or actively trying to simplify things, I suppose, and just thinking like of all the constituent parts and what is actually important and what isn't. Yeah. No,
I think that the other thing about films with a really high budget is their I've kind of lost my train of thought actually, but no, it's essentially. No, I've completely lost it.
Yeah.
I was just going to say about Toy Story. That was another good example. Toy Story 1 like aged very well and still looks, whatever. It's not as good as Toy Story 4, but they that was the first animated film, and that's why they chose toys, because toys are all hard generally. All the toys in that film were all hard surfaces, so it was really easy to render and model.
You don't have soft, transparent, like semi-translucent
fur,
thing. Fur's
whatever.
ridiculous. Like Monsters Inc.'s like a great example of doing that well.
The first
it was like,
fur.
Well, they built a whole the movie around the fact that they made that fur modeling,
and
computer software.
Such a good movie though.
Yeah,
It's so good, yeah. But I mean, like Jurassic Park from the Cronenberg is another just a great example of them just. I mean, that hasn't aged. It was 1991 or 2.
Well, it's like a lot of it's like people in suits and stuff.
Yeah,
there's so much of like that is practical, and it's so hard to. Actually, have you seen Walking with Dinosaurs? It's
the
a bit of a
TV
tangent,
shows.
But I remember watching that when I was a kid, and I was like, "This is amazing." And it's all done like there's just the weirdest scenes. Like the guys making that must have just been like, "What are we making?" Like there's like a scene where it's like laying eggs, and they've got like this guy's like pushing these eggs out. You watch like the behind the scenes because it's all just practical pretty much. Like there's some CG shots, and if you watch it again, the CG is so like the practical stuff is still, I guess, with an adult eye, you're like, oh, I can kind of see that that's like not real. Some of the time looks pretty real, but the CG stuff is just so dated. It just looks so bad.
I remember that TV show. I used to love that TV show when I was a kid.
Yeah,
that was great too.
It was amazing.
I used to pretend to be dinosaurs with my brother.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
What's your favourite dinosaur?
Favorite dinosaur?
Oh, it's a tough one, eh?
I was like the Ankylosaurus.
Is the one with the big mace tail?
Mace tail, it's been like armoured up.
Absolutely.
It was great.
Yeah, I like. Well, the thing is that in that episode when that like fucks up the T-Rex, you're just like shit, new badass on the scene, you know.
I think that's the same episode when the meteor hits and everyone gets blown away.
Yeah.
You're like, I think so. Yeah. I think it was like the final episode.
My favorite dinosaur is a Diplodocus.
Oh really?
Is that the real tall one?
Yeah, the massive one that nothing could kill because it was so big.
You are a Diplodocus, I think.
Yeah.
Is it? They're the ones that are like long.
With the really long whippy tails.
You should know what your favourite
I like
dinosaur is.
that one with the tall.
This is such a good tangent.
Giraffe dinosaur.
Yeah. Bronchiosaurus.
Bronchiosaurus. I think that's what it's called.
I was more of a Stegosaurus man.
Stegosaurus? Really?
Yeah, I love the Stegosaurus. They've got the barbs. They've got these cool ass plates.
Yeah.
I know.
Something about it?
Yeah.
Okay. What? Yeah, we talked about this the other day, like how good it would be if dinosaurs were just.
Well,
I mean, it wouldn't be great, but you know.
It's this thing like the world would be a lot simpler, is all we're saying. So I mean, it's like imagine like because we have to worry about like culture and like what we do with our lives having purpose and like
politics.
having influence on society and stuff. Is like it would be so much easier if success meant survival. Yeah. Like if we were just working away in the business, like doing like that. Oh shit! There's a Ankylosaurus outside. Everyone down.
Yeah.
It's just like okay, lay down. And it's like just no sudden movements. It's gone. It's gone.
Definitely changes what you value in life, right?
Exactly, and
like being able to camouflage, that would be important.
Oh, yeah.
At the moment, it's like stand out,
But like success would be like I am 65 years old.
Yeah.
Like what have you done with your life? Lived.
Yeah, and like over half of my children have survived. Like.
That's good odds.
Nailed it.
That is a success.
You're getting a trophy with that.
Yeah.
Speech.
Oh no, things would be so much simpler.
Yeah.
I think if someone in like the Middle Ages heard us saying that, they'd be real angry.
Yeah.
Like you're so privileged that you want.
They want the alpha predator.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, you're probably right about that. Yeah. I did remember my train of thought that I lost.
Oh, well done. Well, I'm glad. That was quite. I thought that was worthwhile.
Oh no, I've lost it again.
Have you actually
taken the piss?
No, hang on.
It was something about being about like the problem with a high budget.
Yeah. No, it's on the edge of my thought. No, I'm sorry, it's gone again.
I think the low budget stuff is funny because the movies that I think of that I really like and that inspired me to work in film are all. I mean, Lord of the Rings isn't low budget, but for what was done in it was low budget. So like Lord of the Rings would be one. Moon is like another one, which was such a cool science fiction movie.
Yeah, so good. We always loved that back in uni.
I remember that was kind of such a big inspiration at university because it was just this one guy. It was actually working with Duncan Jones who did Warcraft, so we actually worked on the director's next film.
We did.
Not as good as Moon. But,
debatable.
Obviously, it's a little bit different. But it's such a good premise. It's like, okay, we don't have much money. We've got this one really talented actor who's going to play like himself. Spoiler alert, multiple times.
Yeah.
And this one guy the production designer, and he's not just the guy who goes around like, I like this artwork, I like that. Basically CADs up all the sets. He did the graphic design for it. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it just shows what you can do with like, by containing your movie.
Yeah.
If you want to tell a story and you know it's like, we've got this much money to tell this story, how can we do it and still not make it look cheap and shitty?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we need someone talented. But you don't need a lot more than that. Like, you just need someone to plan it out and have people who are open to working with restrictions.
Yep.
It's just like, okay, well, we can only do miniatures of this scale and it'll work, and it may not be perfect, but it'll look great. And like, you look at the there's a couple of shots where it's like rovers driving across the thing. They just shot it fast and slowed it down, which is the perfect shots for it, and they look so real.
Yeah.
And I watched the behind the scenes of it, and it just like basically
It's a
remote
toy
control
yeah.
cars, like with these really nicely model made claddings, just like racing along and just like bouncing all over the place, and it looks ridiculous. But because they knew what they were doing, and they're like, we just plan this out and just hit these shots. It looks so good.
And they slowed that footage down or whatever.
Yeah, so it's like shot at 120 frames or something.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing,
It's so
Sounds
good.
like it's
When
kind
you-
of low gravity.
Yeah, so like when they bounce, they look like they're going really slow.
Right.
Where in reality, they're just banging it across. Yeah.
But it's also like the more personnel or the more people involved in a project, the more diluted creative vision becomes.
Yeah, it becomes a lot harder to control, and it becomes way harder to manage and be efficient.
Yeah.
Because you like only one person. Like, I guess if you're the director or you're the kind of the creative lead, you're the person who ultimately is going to be happy or not happy with something.
Yeah.
So you have to have a really clear vision that then you can clearly describe. Like, that's the most important part. You have the clearest vision, but if you can't communicate it, all you can say is no. It's not what I want. Whereas I feel like that movie is a really good example of someone who knew what they wanted and just only did that. They didn't spend time going in other directions, and it's just like, how can we do this really cheap and still make it look amazing? Like, they did like this forced perspective corridor where they just like, okay, well, we can only shoot it within like a tiny angle, but we have this like almost infinite looking corridor. So they did the majority of, I think it's like the first 20 rows or something, like with this weird tapered pyramid.
Yeah.
And you look at the set and it just looks ridiculous. You look at the shot, and then just after that it's just like a CG tiny square in the center of the frame.
Yeah.
Versus CGing the whole frame with someone walking across in front of it. So you cut out all the roto because the guy never walks right in front of the vanishing point.
Yeah.
And so it's so efficient. And like, you've limited yourself slightly, but you've saved so much money,
Yeah.
And it's just like those sort of things which make the biggest difference, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, so true.
Just being like open to being restricted a little bit, and then picking your battles.
And also the clone CG effect is like the beginner level CG effect, and obviously that's.
And they spent most of their money on that. Like that was the majority of their FX budget, was essentially having 2 Sam Rockwells in the same room. And there's some incredible scenes, like, because they had to paint the guy up when he's playing table tennis against himself.
That's right, yeah.
And someone else playing table tennis. And then he just acts both parts. So they shoot one part with someone else playing with him, and he just shoot the other part.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And you just cut the footage together.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, that requires like the right actor to do that. But that's kind of a specific example, I guess.
He's so good though, isn't he?
Yeah.
Mother's like, I mean, I actually haven't seen Mother yet, but I think they probably were influenced quite heavily by that film, right?
Oh, it definitely has that vibe. I mean, it's kind of that
One
style
facility,
of movie, locked in a facility, very limited characters, and it's all. They usually make really interesting movies because there's always some sort of question mark over like, where is this going wrong?
Yeah.
Like, am I just watching a documentary about this made up facility, or is something going to happen? It's kind of like has everyone on edge. Yeah, it's quite interesting. They usually make great like tense movies.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this is the thought I was thinking of.
You forgot it now.
I think so. I don't know why it's escaping
You'll ruin it.
But basically, the more money that has to go into a film, the more the larger audience it has to capture, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, this is worth waiting for.
I know,
You're so
right? It is? Okay, good. I don't know why it escaped my brain every time. But yeah, so I mean, the more money they're injecting into one of these projects like Avatar or Warcraft would be a really good example.
Yeah.
It means, or Avengers. Avengers is a perfect example.
Yeah.
It means that it gets rid of every niche. A niche being R18, being like gratuitous violence, swearing, grunge, anything like that, and it basically mellows out the entire thing into like a level plan because it's the target audience becomes everyone.
But that affects the story. It's not just affecting the visuals; it's affecting the story.
Absolutely.
So everything has to become like, okay,
funny but serious, but action but drama.
Well, how many people? What like percentage of people will this joke appeal to? And will people be happy or sad? Like, how many people like tragedies versus happy endings? Okay, well, even if we want someone to die, like it still has to be an overall happy ending. Because we don't want to alienate too much of our audience. And it becomes this like this blockbuster feature, right?
And everyone likes it. Like, like that was alright, but very few people like love it, and it's never going to get cult movie.
I mean, like something like the Avengers is like, okay, still people do love it, you know, and that's fair enough. But I think that's
or Star Wars, but
then
they love like the world
more of a comic book sort of and a cult thing rather than it's not like a one-off movie, you know. It's not like something like Memento or something where that has like a cult following, or like the original Blade Runner, which was like pretty unsuccessful when it came out, but gained this cult following and. You look at those movies and they just don't appeal to everybody.
No.
Like they're polarizing. And that's kind of what... And like a lot of Tarantino movies are like that as well. Like some people just don't like them. And it's like, you can see why. But the reason that people don't like them is the reason that people love them. And the problem with like big budget is like the more money you spend, the more money you need to make, right? What you're saying. So that suddenly means you're like focused in on like, oh, okay, well, we have to then...
It's like commoditization of like the art. You know, it is not really an art. It is like a product, designed to we put in this much money, we generate this much money.
Just got to get those bums on seats, right? They're not doing it for like to win Best Picture.
No.
Yeah. So I was wondering too, like, I mean, would you say the film industry has changed over the sort of 5 or 6 years there?
I think a little bit. Like I've definitely noticed. It's kind of weird because I think we've also become, like working at Weta, I think Weta's become a lot more efficient and better at dealing with it.
It's a company, at a company level.
At a company level, I think the company is actually better at dealing with these situations, but I think that it seems like anyway that we seem to be getting compressed more and more, where it's just like, here's this job, we're shooting here, and it's like, man, that's a really tight shoot date. And it's kind of always like that, but I think it also feels like people just don't want to sign off on anything. Be it a design or approve something, they just kind of want to spend more and more time going over what it's going to look like. I'm not sure if I can actually talk about that, but we did have like I worked on a film where the director had kind of been making like we've been working on the project for a long time. He was quite involved in it. It was like a passion project for him. It's still like quite a big movie, but they'd spent like a year in design basically, and him trying to get up. He was paying for some design work himself because he really wanted to get the project off the ground. So you have this massive upfront time spent designing, and then you get round to putting the bids out and then getting the bids back, and it's like, how much time do you need to build this? It's like, we need this much time. And they're like, okay, goes past that time, and you hear back from them like, oh, can we cut the cost down anymore? It's like, we're already past the build time, and the problem is that because you want the work and you know that you can, like, you give them a time frame that you think is realistic without really busting your gut to get it done. But they know that you can bust your gut to get it done. The film industry, I think, is becoming more and more like, don't worry, people will just work harder. And we can save money because they can only spend so much in that period of time, you know. So it definitely felt like there was a huge time up front, and then we finally get to the manufacture, and then it's just like a mad dash to the finish. And it seems like that's the case, and it almost seems like the larger the budget, the faster the dash to the finish line. Like it really doesn't seem like it happens very often where it's a large budget movie with a long lead time. And I think just because a lot of the time the budget's to cater for, you know, the big scenes and kind of what the audience is expecting. What you're saying about, you know, appealing to everyone. Everyone's kind of expecting this from a certain, like an action movie, it has to have these big scenes. The budget's going to that, and so they're trying to save money everywhere else. And I guess pre-production is one of those places where it's like, this is definitely somewhere where we can trim money off. It's interesting because the producers have the control, but they kind of have to be the ultimate jack of all trades in terms of deciding where the money goes, like whether the director might want X, but the producer has to be like, well, you can't have that because we don't have the money. So they have to have a good idea of what's going to hinder the VFX guys, how much the VFX is going to cost if they don't get the stuff in pre-production, if it's delayed, like if there's some guys on set that don't have the stuff, they have to shoot because they can't run the shootout because that's incredibly expensive. But then suddenly there's this massive VFX cost that's appeared because someone didn't have the gun they were supposed to have, or the costume like is missing, like they've got a green screen sleeve because they couldn't finish something on time, or whatever it is, you know. So it's quite interesting. I feel like, and it's weird when I first heard about like a producer as like a job, I was like, do they just talk to people? Like, just like you talk to this person, make a movie. But it's just, you have to have so much knowledge because you're the one in control of where all the money's going, which is essentially like going to drive the movie into the ground or make it work.
You're the one setting all the limitations for people.
Exactly. You're the ultimate, I guess, the guardian at the bank.
That speaks to like a lot of industries as well. You know, we're just, you know, increasing, everyone wants everything now, and that's just the feel of the...
And as soon as someone sets a precedent that this person can get this thing now, then they expect it from everyone.
Like 3D printers, you know, if we wanted to make something, you know, back in the day, it's like, cool, cut up the wood, shape this, do this. Now it's just like CAD, print, done. You know, all these technologies are just pushing it, and you know, communication technologies are so much better than they were. You know, but when Lord of the Rings was made, like the internet was barely a thing. You know what I mean? Like everyone would have had emails
on that jet stream. You know.
But now it's just like, why doesn't this happen now? When people just, you know, even with our work, you know, people expect things. Oh, it's digital. It actually just happened instantly. It's like, no, there's still, you know, things to work.
A lot of the time, it's more time consuming.
And
one of the reasons that it's kind of funny is the pre-production version of VFX. Is you get the 3D modelling guys who have presented this piece of artwork. They're like, sweet, make this. And you model it, and they're like, no, I don't like that. And it's like, well, you said you wanted this, now you don't want it. Okay, I guess we just keep doing this. So it's the same thing, you have that in VFX as well, where it's like, oh no, we add some more things in here. No, change this, adjust that. And it happens at the start of pre-production and then after filming as well. So it's kind of like mirrors that a little bit, and people expect it's like, oh, it's digital, it should be faster. It's like there's less labour actually building the thing because the machines are going to create the physical product from the computer. But if you're not careful, the amount of time you spend at the computer can be massive. It's like longer than it takes to build it, and you might have a more refined thing. But is it actually worth focusing on that? Or are you just wasting a bunch of money?
Adding detail for detail's sake.
Exactly.
You know, that's definitely you know, something that we experience is that you're adding all this level of detail, but like actually very little of that's going to be picked up on camera. But you know, it's just sort of
it's like what's important and how in depth do you want to micromanage designs for background characters or whatever it may be. You kind of have to pick your battles, I think. It seems like definitely depending on the art director or the director, like some directors aren't really that involved in the design, and some are like, they want to know everything. Like, how is this design going? Like, what does this look like? No, I've changed my mind, I don't want to look like that. And it's like, this is going to feature in the movie for 5 seconds, and the director's like focused on this, which means, I guess, either they are incredibly talented with spreading their focus, and some are, like, I guess James Cameron's a pretty good example of knowing what he's after. I think he's like quite a specific vision, but it also means that everything goes through him. You know, so even you've got the costume designers and the production designers, they're still often not trusted to. Well, not that they're not trusted. They're trusted, but they still ultimately need to get that tick off. Whereas some directors will be like, mate, this is your job. Like, this way you're on my film, so I can say this is my vision. You interpret that, and if we click a little bit, then sweet, hands off, you know? And that definitely bottlenecks stuff if you're
well, I mean, for such a, you know, incredibly tall hierarchy as some of these films are, like, if it's got to run through one person, it can take so long, you know, and especially when you're on a manufacturing line and you need to get stuff done. And it's got to go through 17
like we need feedback, and it's like, that'll take 3 days, and it's like, we've only got 5 days left.
No, exactly. The other thing is like, you know, the scale of these productions. I mean, to be fair, there's probably big scale productions back in the day as well. But you know, the scale of these productions are like, you know, they're, you know, hundreds if not thousands of people, like companies, large company operations, and you've got to set them up for, you know, however long that film takes to be filmed. So setting up all of these systems, you know, it's hard, and like companies are just stable and operate over, you know, tens of years, have time to tweak and change and make those things smooth. But like film doesn't. because
film runs on inefficiency.
Yeah.
Compared to a business which is like we make bottles or whatever. It's like they're good at that. Don't get them to do anything else because they won't be able to do it. But that one thing that they've set themselves up to do, and they may slowly be developing different avenues, but it's like very precise and planned out and expensive to set that up. The idea being that it's like we just continue to do this. Like there's a business plan behind this, and we know that this will make money over this much time as long as we like follow the steps. Whereas films like I need you guys to be able to do anything. Like the movies that come out just have such a massive range, and there's so many different things that happen in there, and I guess the way they try to control it is you just have the same jobs, and then they hire other people to help them do their job. And it's like I'm the props guy, or I'm the production designer, or I'm the supervising art director or a costume designer or whatever it is, and then they just like create all these little teams. So you have just all these splinters, and then they have to have all these HOD meetings to make sure that everyone's talking, because otherwise you get on set and it's just like, where's the sheath for my sword? And they're like, no, you guys are in charge of that. That falls. I worked on production.
That's not a prop. That's a piece of costume.
The sheath is part of the props, weapons. So you guys should have done the sheaths, and they're like, no, that's part of the costume, because otherwise, where's it going to hang? Do we decide that? And they're like, oh. So you get these like real interesting like overlaps, and it's just like you have to just be like talk people.
Well, I mean, it's
not that we have to do that much, but it has happened to us where we've been put in a position where it's just like, oh, we need to be making these. They're like, oh yeah, you guys do need to be making those now. We didn't realize it was our responsibility.
But it's when you frame it something like we are a company making products, yet every product is a prototype. It's something weird. So it's like, imagine trying to create an efficient workflow and process when everything you make is the only one of its kind.
It's
and you've just got everything requires a different skill set, a different combination of people, and
just different information
and it's can be chaos. I think
it usually is relatively chaotic. And unless it's, there's definitely jobs that are similar, like you'd be like, this is a job that we're making swords and weapons for. That's probably the easiest stuff, because we've done stuff like that before, and the designs have changed, but the manufacturing process doesn't change that much. So it's way easier to quantify, whereas maybe you get like specialty costume jobs, and there'll be different stunt requirements from the previous job. It has to be soft or hard. Like there's just all these different things that are going to limit, especially movement and comfort, kind of the main things. That it has to be comfortable, or as comfortable as possible, and you have to be able to move. But how much do you have to be able to move? Because the design probably doesn't let you do that. So then it's like, okay, we have all these compromises to make, and we have to work through all of this. It just becomes this ongoing frustration. Well, sometimes it goes great.
No, definitely. I think you'd be naive to think that it was going to always be smooth, though, like you say, because the nature of it.
And you watch like the behind the scenes stuff for movies, and everyone's having so much fun and like making stuff. And it is like, I guess the thing is, it is a really fun job, and that's why people do it. They don't necessarily do it because they're like, this is how I'm going to earn my living. Like I want to earn heaps of money doing this. You become a lawyer or something, but that's a bit boring. Unless you're a lawyer and you love it. but
people have certain mind.
There's definitely like a glorified nature to working on film. Even I was watching behind the scenes of The Office while I was cooking one day, and I was like, man, working on The Office looks so much fun. Everyone's just partying, being silly, all these outtakes, and you're like, actually, it's probably just so boring, just waiting for ages to set up for, like, you go on set and you're like, oh my god, they do like 5 shots a day. This is so time, and most of the time you're just like, waiting.
Sorry, that pot plant was out of
Someone's job's like just continuity. Like, make sure that nothing moves around while we're filming these scenes and record it all. Like,
it kind of ruins the romance of the whole thing.
A little bit. Whereas you watch the behind the scenes, like Weta has some really good behind the scenes videos, and it looks like so much fun. And a lot of it is actually really fun. But they definitely don't include the like, we have to redo this for the 3rd time because the client's changed their mind again, or we have made a mistake, so like quickly you have to work the weekend to get this done. Like, you don't ever see that side of things a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing about Weta Workshop is too. I mean, it is changing like because of the chaotic nature of that industry, of film, they are starting to do more and more exhibition design and things like that.
Gallipoli and Bugs and
finding more consistent industries to get into.
I think as well, like that idea applies to every industry as well. Like people idolize, or at least I idolized certain companies when I was in university. It's like, these are companies that I really want to work for. It must be so amazing.
Like everyone's like, I want to work at Apple because I do industrial design, and Apple's this famous company that makes products.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, do you want to work in that environment? Do you know anything about that? And they're like, oh, no. Yeah. But I like Macs.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's a start. You know, I like films. Maybe I should work in film.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, I think, there's definitely it's something that happens in every industry where it's like, whatever it is, like, I like maths, I should be an accountant. It's like, make sure.
Yeah, but and also it's like there's a lot of things which affect your happiness and your like job satisfaction past the output of what you're doing.
Totally.
Who you're working with, how well you're treated, the perks.
I think who you work with is the most important.
Yeah, exactly. And so everyone at Apple might be a bunch of assholes. I mean, I don't know, probably not, but you know what I mean. Like, it could be the case.
It's possible.
Yeah. Steve Jobs, an asshole.
Cut that out. You'll be getting sued by Apple.
Oh yeah.
We're not going to get his viewership, don't worry.
No, they might take us off Apple. They might take us off
YouTube?
No, iTunes.
Oh no.
And we get a lot of views through that.
Yeah, you guys will be you get flagged content. They'll hear the word Steve Jobs and someone will be like prompted to watch it to make sure that it meets requirements and you'll be out.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
Should we try it? See what happens.
Tim Cook. Here's the new guy. He's great.
It doesn't seem forced.
Yeah.
He's great.
I think it's about time we ask you the big question, Jack.
Yep.
If you had to live on a Star Wars planet, which one would it be?
I quite like Alderaan.
What was that?
Was it Alderaan one?
Alderaan is...
Am I just getting confused?
What does it describe it?
Wasn't it what's the one with oh no, that's not the one. I was thinking like the giant like city planet.
Oh, Coruscant.
Yeah?
Oh, that's embarrassing.
God. Which one is Alderaan? Alderaan gets blown up. That's Leia's planet that gets destroyed in the first movie.
But Leia's on it.
What? Well, no, she
at the start,
She wasn't. She's not getting that.
Yeah, you'd have to leave.
Maybe
start on Alderaan, then go to Coruscant.
I think, yeah. That was like a little trip.
I think you wouldn't want to get tied down with just one planet when you're in a galaxy.
Coruscant looks pretty diverse.
Yeah.
But it is a bit of a rat race in there, I reckon.
You couldn't do much mountain biking on Coruscant.
You're right. I didn't really consider that.
Yeah. You do quite like nature, so
yeah. Could they live on a moon like the one that the Ewoks live on? Endor, thanks. Man, my science, Star Wars is usually better than that.
If I'm going for a jungle planet, I'd go Kashyyyk, which is where all the Wookiees live.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Wookiees are pretty
I think you are a bit of a Wookiee yourself, actually.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you definitely have to live there.
Yeah. No, I think
I
would choose
Naboo.
You'd be outcast anywhere else.
Naboo seems pretty idyllic.
Yeah. But then you have to, deal with Jar Jar.
Yeah. He is pretty fucking everything.
You'd be like, man, what a lovely day for a picnic, and you just hear that in the background, and you're
He's
like, someone get me off this planet now. But he'd be stowed away in the ship, so you'd bug it anyway.
Yeah,
true that.
Yeah.
Alright, well, thanks for coming on, Jack.
My pleasure, guys.
Very elucidating.
Yeah.
Bit of
a ramble. I don't know.
Elucidating to shed light upon.
I don't know.
Well, I've learned something.
Isn't that good?
Yeah, it is. I'm going to use that and people are just going to look at
me. The thing is, I probably used it wrong, but I said it with confidence, so it's okay.
Yeah, cool. Don't look that up.
No. So that was episode 14. Next week, episode 15, and who knows who our guest will be, but...
Hopefully someone.
Better
than Jack.
Low bar. Cool. Alright, well, see you next week, guys, and thanks for watching.
Cheers. Bye.